Hello and welcome to Paxton Road TV, and this is episode number 47 of your favourite weekly Tottenham show, Talking Points. And today's edition of Talking Points, we are going to be looking at, well, we've got Mr. K's comment up there, so I'm going to get rid of Mr. K's comment first, and then we're going to talk about, is that it for Tanguy and co? And join me in the house today to talk about that Sunday game and also the fallout from it. We have Mike-Hotspur Hustler, SUBSRCRIBE, and joining our special guest, Ollie Gamp, I apologize, Ollie Gamp, and Cuva99. Welcome to the stream. Woo! Always something to talk about with Tottenham, isn't there? Always something to talk about. And I'm sure we're going to get through that today. But before I start with all you guys, I'm going to start with those that are watching. If you are new to watching us, make sure you subscribe. All you got to do is press that button. Not much to do else. Just press the button. And also that thumb icon, the like button, smash that. We're going to be doing that partway through the stream as well. Make sure everybody in the stream smash that. We want 100 likes tonight if we can get that. Right. I'm not sure. One of your mics is just getting a little bit of feedback. So I'm not sure whose it is. I'll have to check. But mute your mics.
It's always Sid.
It's always
Sid.
It's Sid. It's your mic, Sid. The other two, you're right. Right. Sweet. This is it. We're going to deal with Sunday, and I thought let just to obviously get some context to it. Yeah, we 1-0 down to Morecambe, 60 odd minutes on the clock, and I said in the preview show, or even the kind of like lineup stuff that we did. Conte's never going to get embarrassed the second time. He's not going to happen. So he quite rightly made subs. And for those that are watching, who don't know, who've been under a rock, there was 3 subs made at the time. Dele Alli, Brian Hill, and Tanguy. I think Tanguy's name went up second, and he took an age. He looked like he was just pissed off. He started to take his gloves off and walked. Dele walks off the side of the pitch around. Brian Hill sprinted across the pitch and almost beat Tanguy to the end where the tunnel was. But it just seemed that, the crowd were frustrated. We were 1-0 down in the game to Morecambe at home. Couldn't afford to lose a game like that. As I said, it would have been an embarrassing loss. And Tanguy looked like he even slowed down as the crowd were booing him. I went mad. I literally went mad on the day. But in hindsight, he's done that before. He's walked off very slowly before. I think the problem was he was getting booed. We were 1-0 down. The players were actually trying to hustle him off the pitch. But really, was it the worst crime in the world when you think about it? I know it was a case of, Tottenham wanted a bit of urgency. And what made it worse was that we didn't see the urgency on the pitch from him and a number of other players. And that's the thing. It wasn't just him, but he didn't help himself. Our biggest signing, 54 million plus add-ons, 200 grand a week, and he's strolling off, not having had a good game. Cuva, what was your thoughts after that game, at that incident and the game itself? We had to make that substitution, and did he deserve to come off? And when he did come off, what was you thinking when you saw what he did?
We'll start off with the overall game. I don't think it merited quite the backlash it had from the fans because, although it was obviously shocking performance, so it was very lackluster. The thing is that I think people didn't think about enough at the time was it is our backup squad. We have seen this before. It's not unexpected, is it? So we're acting like we're shocked by the performance, but we have seen it before. The fact we're starting with no sort of, as you call, a recognised striker, we're always going to be struggling a little bit there. You could see in the performances people are not used to playing with people. There was one time in particular, I think it was Hill, put a ball into the box for Dele Alli, and he's running at a different angle across the ball. And it just ends up going across an empty penalty area. Dele Alli's made a different run. It's misunderstandings because they just literally haven't played together in those roles before. So a lot of it, I think, was a bit overreaction. Yes, we should have enough to beat the likes of Morecambe anyway, but it was poor, it was lackluster, and some players certainly didn't help themselves. But I will start off with the positives. Winks played okay again. I thought Sanchez played okay again. Hill was okay. there was a few. They weren't great, obviously, but they were showing something. There was something about their play that was worthwhile. But then it comes down to Tanguy, and it was all about him. That game, the anger, all focused around him. He was dreadful throughout the game. Looked like he didn't have a care in the world about anything. Not for the first time this season. The substitution was just completely disrespectful to teammates, management, and the fans. We're trailing in a game, and he's almost wasting time. It's you get off the pitch if you're being called up for sub, fine to be angry about it, but get off there and then show your anger behind the scenes. Not sort of stroll around the pitch like, oh, look at me, I'm I'm the big man round here. Why isn't everybody praising me? It's like it looks like he's so far up his own arse. It's just unreal. It really got everybody angry. I don't think there's any Tanguy fans left anymore, is there? It's difficult to defend him. I know, Sam, you obviously looked at him in the past and seen what a lot of people have seen, all the things he is capable of. But when do we ever see it from him? He's just a complete waste of money. He's signed his own transfer release form there with that final performance, I think. You can't possibly justify it.
Just to add to that, what I was going to say was put a poll out just after the game, just to say who was the most disappointing player for Spurs. There was a number of players that I'd put on there. I think it was Matt Doherty was on there. Who else was on there? Dele Alli didn't play that great. Who else?
Usual casualties.
The usual ones that we talked about. Expecting it to be a bit of a mixed bag, because I don't think, if I looked at it in hindsight, I don't think he had as bad a game as what we thought. We didn't play up to the levels that we expected against the level of opposition. I thought there were worse players on the day. But the fact is, 72% of the people that have voted, and there's over 100 people that have voted, have said Tanguy, which shows me there's more of a backlash because of potentially what happened, the way he walked off. Ollie, I'll come to you. Do you think that, the booing was deserved?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the game. There's moments where Tanguy is kind of just letting the game pass him by. He's kind of just standing around. I literally watched Morecambe players dribble past him, and this is someone who earns more than their entire club put together. All of their groundsmen, probably everyone in the club, he kind of out earns them. And I think it was a moment like when Nuno was sacked. All the fans, they made their voices heard, and that kind of got him sacked. I feel like it was the moment where this got Tanguy sold. I think the booing from the fans is the kind of the last straw, really. And I think he's going to leave this month. I think Conte has seen it. He's kind of had enough now. He's not a Conte player. He's not really a Premier League player, really. I mean, he's had 4 managers now, 5 if we include Ryan Mason. He just does. I mean, it's crazy how we always see him linked to Barcelona. We always see him linked to Bayern Munich. That's no coincidence. I mean, he's obviously a very talented player. He just doesn't have the drive. He doesn't have the energy. Doesn't have the fitness. But yeah, I think the booing was very much deserved. It was just kind of damning, really, because it seems like it's the end now. Whereas before we were giving him a chance.
You know what? I looked at it. Was it simply a case of being disappointed, or was there some kind of message in that? Because we've paid £54 million for this player. The scouting have gone out, identified this guy. I watched him in France, watched him in the Champions League, mentioned before against City, all the rest of it. This guy looked like, and I still maintain he's one of the most talented players I've seen at the club. But he's been here 2.5 years now. He's picking up 200 grand a week, and apart from moments, has he run a game? Has he run the show from start to finish to us to say, yeah, that's a player. That's why we paid this sort of money for him. Do you think then, Darius, because welcome to the stream, by the way, Darius, do you think it was a case of just him being disappointed, or was there more of a message behind it? Was he trying to say something to Conte? Was he trying to say something to Spurs, the fans? Because it looked like, as I mentioned before, it looked like he actually was doing it deliberately when he slowed down. What's your
well, like I said, I hadn't watched the Morecambe game, unfortunately, but I'd heard of what had happened with Ndombele, and to be honest, I can't really see people sort of digging as deep as saying, oh, he's so disappointed at the performance in his performance, because Ndombele looks like he doesn't even want to run. It looks like he struggles to even get his legs going to start sprinting. So I just imagine that he was just bored, sick and tired, didn't care, didn't really want to run off because he had no reason to. And that's what happened. I mean, and this is the first time like people have reacted in a sort of general consensus to say enough's enough. Because for me, again, like you said, Sam, the talent's there. He's such a fantastic player, but it's that age-old saying that you always said to me, sort of the hard work doesn't beat the talent doesn't work hard. So, and he just doesn't work at all. And it's been 4 managers, 2 of sort of the best managers of our time, sort of individually wanting to get him going, and he's still not really caring about anything. So for me, I think Ndombele, if he ever after this Spurs team gets into a Champions League team, it'll have to be one that's sort of not really a big one, that the team is sort of built around him, and he can sort of be that almost lazy player, and everybody else will work hard around him. Because if he's not the best player, I don't think he really cares about working hard. So for me, it was just a show of his body language that we've seen all along. But a lot of us, me included, have sort of looked past it for his talent. But I think enough's enough for everyone now, and definitely me. So I just think it was him, his personality.
Mike, we've talked on Sid. Just I know I'm going to come to you. Just make sure you've got your mic sorted. I think you're going to sort that out, Mike. We've talked about Ndombele loads of times on various streams for a long time now. We've all maintained that as a talent, I can't say there's unquestionable. Like you said, unquestionable. But how do you deal with a player like this now, who's clearly been under 5 managers from Poch? You know, we can name through the joke. I think he had his best time under Jose. Ryan Mason, I'm not quite sure what he thought about him. Nuno, well, less said the better. Now Conte. Conte apparently wanted him before, has identified this player as somebody he wanted. What does he do now? What do you think his actions have now made the manager think? Because in that press conference today, it was again very little toward. Didn't want to talk about him, but as soon as he mentioned another player, he's off. What would you do now as Conte?
Well, just touching on that, I can't remember if it was today or yesterday. One of his Conte's pressers, he's actually mentioned that he doesn't want to lose Doherty, Dele, or Ndombele. So I don't know whether he's just saying that just to sort of not to keep the harmony within the squad and not have media sort of hounding him with more questions, etc. I think there's a number of players, and not just Ndombele, but there's a number of players he's got to have an honest, frank conversation with, i.e. Ndombele, do you want to be at this club? Do you want to play for me, or do you want to go? It's as simple as that. I've said this probably previous in other streams. It's the same with Dele. It's the same with Doherty. It's the same with... in fact, it's probably those 3, the main... Oh, and Bergwijn. So, honest conversation, man to man. Do you want to be here? Do you not? If you don't, in politest way and politest terms, there's the exit door. We'll sort it out and we'll find clubs for you. Let's make the transfers happen. Or alternatively, we can't get that. Go and train with the under 23s, and we'll bring. If there's 3 under 23s that need to come in and 3 first team players need to go out, so be it. There'll be motivated youngsters who will be more than happy to come up from the under 23s. We can name 3 of them off the top of our lips: Divine, Markandé, Scarlett. They'd be more than happy. I know they're in slightly different positions, but I'm just chucking names out there. But there'll be 3 or 4 youngsters biting at the bit to get into that first team and play for Conte. And it's as simple. I know I'm talking. It's simple for us to say as fans, but from my perspective, this has gone on for too long. If you don't want to be at the club, right? Again, in the politest way, in politest terms, etc. You're going in the under 23s for the rest of the season. We're going to bring some under 23s up from the first team, and we'll see what they're about. Sink or swim. And I think the youngsters in that under 23s, I think the majority of them would probably swim. So it's as simple as that for me. I have the honest conversation. Just be a man about it. Just be honest, be a man, and tell Conte where your head's at. If your head's not at the club, you got to go. We can't afford to carry these players anymore. I rate Ndombele. I do think he's a talented individual, but either if he does want to stay, then Conte and him have got to work together to find out how to get the best out of him. Because at the moment, it's just it's a recipe for disaster. Because if you've got a bunch, and this is the same thing with the Morecambe game, if you've got 3 or 4 players whose heart's probably not at the club, might be elsewhere, how can we expect them as fans to come in and have put in a performance and show the effort levels that we want those players to show and play for the badge? It's just not going to happen. If your head's elsewhere, you're not going to perform to the levels that's required. So for me, it's simple. Have the conversations and be a man about it.
It's very interesting because we've known for a while now. He's been here 2.5 years. We've seen in the Amazon documentary that he wanted to go then, and probably every summer and maybe every transfer window since that point, he said he wants to go, or certainly rumours have come out that he wants to go. Before I come to you, Sid, Tottenham Tantrum Goal, thank you for the super chat. Big up, guys, and panel. Great show. Please like and subscribe. Hit that bell. Come on, you Spurs. Make sure you listen to what Tottenham Tantrum Gold is saying. Hit that like button now. Hit that subscribe button. Again, if you're watching, if you're new, really, really easy to do. Just subscribe. Sid, the man with the mic that's playing up, but it's all right. We're going to come to you. What do you think his teammates are thinking? Because I saw some of the shots as he was walking off, and then there was that one on Twitter where you've seen Region, I think it's Region and Dio looking at Dio looked like he wanted to do him something. A real proper, I'm going to do you something in the changing room after this game. What do you think that the consensus behind everybody would be as his teammates?
You know, in that game, remember we said about that sniper that took a shot at GLC? I think it was actually meant for Ndombele, but whoever the sniper was got sacked after that because he completely missed him. But I think that bench summed it up, didn't it? When they showed Son's reaction, Regulon's, and even Dyer. Dyer was like, you could see Dyer going in after the game or in training, taking him out. Because if you've got somebody like that on the pitch at home in front of 50, 60,000 fans, not giving a shit, right, then it sort of puts a little bit of emphasis on the other players around as well, because fans will be expecting other players to try and get him into order to say, listen, mate, you're playing at home in front of the crowd. All right, we're playing Morecambe, but we need to see a little bit. You're the most expensive player we've bought. You need to show some kind of commitment, passion, or anything like that. You know, at least give a little bit of that you're interested in the game. Because every time I see him play, like you guys keep saying, he's talented, this, that, the other. You see about a minute or 2 minutes of him doing it, yeah? And then that's it. I mean, if you watch that, Jamie Carragher done the thing the other day, didn't he? I think somebody posted it where they were analysing it after, I can't remember which game it was, but...
It was Burnley, wasn't it?
Burnley game, yeah.
Never forget that game.
Exactly. He said he'd done absolutely nothing, no tracking back. He was just walking, wasn't coming for the ball or anything. And then the next shot, he showed him when he'd done that skill. But that's it. There was no end product after that skill. So in terms of the rest of the players, I think the morale and somebody senior in that dressing room needs to take him in the corner and have a word with him. Now, who that senior player is going to be, I don't know. But I mean, you've got the likes of Dyer, Lloris, a prime example, French. So he can speak to him in English and in French and give him a rollicking in whichever language he prefers. But it seems like nobody's done that in that dressing room. And whether they're just relying on Conte to deal with it. I know everyone's saying he wants to leave, he's not happy at the club. But I think somebody's put it in the comments, and I've said this all along. Who's going to pay the 200 grand a week wages? Nobody's going to pay that 200 grand a week for him. And that's the problem we're going to have massively. Whether he wants to go, we want to sell him, that stumbling block is going to be the wages. Because I can't see anyone paying 200 grand.
Thing is, though, if he wants to leave, wages won't be an issue. He'll take a job just to get out of the club.
Would he?
I think he would. If he wants out of the club that bad, if a player wants out of a club that bad, they will take the wage drop.
We'd like to think so. And I'll come to you, Kuva, because what I wanted to just add on to that, and we'll talk about that wage drop and whether or not he really wants to go, because he's had opportunities to go, I think. I think we've probably wanted to keep him more so than him wanting to go, because I don't think we're going to recoup that money, obviously, in the pandemic situation that we're in at the moment. But and it might sound of a bit of a weird question, but is it all Tanguy's fault? And what I mean by that is, He was scouted. He's been brought in. Somebody's gone, watched him for a long time. They must have done. Because if you're paying that sort of money for a player, you don't just go and watch him for a couple of games and say, yeah, that's the player I'm going to get. They must have done some background search. But I've read, there's a list, and I'll probably read it out later. There's a list of players that we've bought since Bale. And that list is horrendous. It's about 30 other players in there. And only a handful of these players, I can say to myself, they're any good. So do we lie all this blame at Tanguy's feet, or is he in the wrong setup? Is he in the wrong environment for him to actually flourish?
It's a bit of both, isn't it? You can see by the attitude on the pitch, he just doesn't. He does not care. He's strolling around. If you're off just on the wages alone, you'd put in that kind of effort, wouldn't you? You'd put in maximum effort. That's a huge amount of money. It looks to me like somebody who's made a nice living. He's got everything on the plate for him. Doesn't have to try. Thinks that his ego's so huge with his own talent. He thinks he doesn't have to put in the effort. He can just turn it on once every 8 games or something, do a little flash move, and everybody go, "Wow, what a player!" And for a little while, that did actually work for him. But he's just being found out. Everybody can see it except for him. As for the recruitment policy, you've really got to question what's been going on over the last few years, haven't you? It feels to me like recruitment's done on a spreadsheet, sort of football manager style. They don't look at the background of the players. They don't look at reports about their temperament, how they're getting on with teammates and staff.
So true.
Fans, it's there's just nothing there.
There's a certain name though, isn't there? That's responsible for all that. Begins with H.
Wonder what that could be. No, I'm at a loss, mate.
Yeah.
So was he there for the club for about 21 years or so, by any chance? Yeah, just yeah. As far as I'm concerned, all eyes are pointing in the same direction. Tanguy is just part of the problem, but he's the focal point on the pitch of the problem. But as you say, Mike, we know what's causing all of this. It's the certain chairman has form, and you can't look past it. When it happens again and again and again, so many dreadful signings. If you could say, well, it's not the manager that signs them, it's the scouting network responsible, but who employs them? The buck does stop with the chairman. That is it. If it's over that many years, you can't look any further than that. He should have done something about it. He's clearly not competent on the footballing side. It's genius, if you like, when it comes to financing. That's where his skills should lay. If only he had the sense to just put in a footballing man to run the other half of the club, if you like, the footballing side of it, we could have been in a much better position than we are. Now we're looking at Tanguy for the sort of the sole blame for going what's gone at times. It's like pick on the players. It's the players. We've all been saying it. It's not the manager. It's the players. It's the players. Perhaps things have been made too cushy for them. Their little the shots you get of how high tech everything is in the club, and they can just go in and relax and have a joke and a laugh after training. And this is all well and good as long as you put in the shift. A lot of players don't put in the shift. They don't need to. They've already made it. Massive salary, massive signing on fee. Do what they
never
like.
have to work. Never have to work again in their life. Yeah. Even if they finish tomorrow and they're only sort of 21, 22, they're set for life, aren't they?
Exactly. Which is why I agree with you, Mike. Getting some of the youngsters, getting players that are hungry to play for the badge. Yeah. They're not on those huge wages. They want to play because they want the football.
And that's
it's worked well for Arsenal, hasn't it, at the moment? So,
and that's where the incentive comes in, isn't it? Like these youngsters who aren't on big contracts, that are in the under 23s. You could say to them, "Let's see how you get on for the rest of the season, and we'll talk about a contract at the end of it." Or you set some sort of incentive. I mean, these youngsters will probably be happy to carry on playing on the wages that they're on at the moment if they're getting sort of minutes on the pitch in the first team. And then, as I say, discussions could be had at the end of the season, dependent. But like we said, I mean, if you don't want to be at the club, it's as far as I see it, it's that simple now. Go. We can't carry on. It's the same with, and I've mentioned it again, like it's the same with the players that spend more time on the treatment table than on the pitch. We're carrying them. We can't, again, I'd rather give at this moment in time, if we all think, and if it is true that we are in a rebuild, then if we're not expecting anything from this season, I'd rather just bleed the youngsters into the first team and just, as I say, the effort levels will be there, the motivation will be there. The players that are on the treatment table 24/7, they can go in the under 23s. Same as the players that don't want to be here, and then you start your rebuild in the summer, or if we can get rid of some of these in the January window, then something has to be done. I mean, you can blame Hitchin for the recruitment, but
definitely there needs to be more. There needs to be more transparency around transfers, in my opinion, as to what has happened because like I said, there's a list of about first-year players since Bale. And when you read some of the names on that list, it's horrendous. The players that have come in this club and have gone, picked up wages, not very good, and have gone. And just it's really bad. We'll get to that. And the second part of the show anyway, we're going to look at, possible punishment and solutions. But there's a famous quote, and I'm going to try to remember it. It's Bernard Hopkins, famous middleweight boxer. And he said it right. He said, it's very difficult to get motivated when you're sleeping in silk pajamas. Basically, he's saying, once you've made it, do you know what I mean? What is your motivation? I don't know what his is. I look at someone like Ronaldo, look at Messi, all them top players, and their motivation is to be the best. They want to be the best for themselves. They want to be the best for their club and country, all the best, even if it's personal accolades, etc., etc. When you've got that amount of talent and you're getting paid this amount of money, very similar to the Dele Alli situation now. Again, reminds me of a schoolboy footballer. I used to play a lot of football at school, and playground players, them ones where the ball's around their feet, they're brilliant. As soon as the ball's 5 yards away, they're not working off the ball. And this is what it's like for him. He seems to be a player that just wants to have the ball at his feet and keep playing football and doing those flicks and those tricks. What is his motivation now, do you think then, Ollie? Apart from, I don't know, being in the greatest, stadium in the world at the moment, picking up 200 grand a week, which is a tidy sum of money.
Well, I think you said it all. I think his motivation is money. I think when you're on, as we think he is, 200 grand a week, are you going to want to leave? I mean, I really agree with what you said, Mike. We need to find out, does he want to stay? Does he want to leave? I think he probably wants to stay, because who else is going to pay him 200 grand a week if he leaves? Not many people. Maybe Barcelona, maybe Bayern if he goes there. But I don't think, based on the performances, anyone like that is going to stamp up a transfer fee for him. So I think the money is the main thing. He doesn't look to me like a player like Ronaldo, Messi, like you said, that wants to achieve things, that really even cares about trophies. I think he just plays football because it pays him a wage.
But that's the difference the difference. Just quickly, like just on your point there, that's the difference to, like we mentioned, Ronaldo and Messi. That's what sets them apart from your ordinary, like your Tanguys and stuff, is they want to leave a legacy. They want to be the greatest footballer on this planet, in this current day and age. And you could argue Ronaldo, like you could go into between that sort of Ronaldo, Messi, who's better, who's not. And you could argue that Ronaldo, his talent maybe not as good as Messi's, but through his work efforts, his effort in how he carries himself, the effort levels he's put in over the years, he's got to where he is because he's put the effort in. And that's the same with like Tanguy. If you don't put the effort levels in, you're never going to leave a destiny, or you're never going to leave a legacy, or you're never going to reach or fulfill your potential, because your effort levels aren't there.
Just to add on what you're saying there, if he was like, and I know we can't really compare Ronaldo and Messi because they're two of they're phenoms, but if he had the same level of effort and he was ripping it up and he scored a couple of goals here and there for games and he was assisting and all the rest of it, you could possibly forgive him for having a strop. We've seen players in the past who, them sort of mavericks, the Eric Cantonas, the Paul Gascoignes, David Ginolas, all those sort of players, mavericks, which I call them. And they can have moments where they're just geniuses on the football, and then there's moments when they don't have to do as much work as somebody others. But you balance that up. Harry Redknapp was famously done that with players. You can balance up the talent levels and let other people work around him. But the problem I've got with Tanguy is moments. You put a highlight reel of him, he looks like he's absolutely the number one player in terms of his ability, beating players and all the rest of it. But they're isolated moments in a game. He's not run the show. We need a player, especially in his position, that's going to run the show. So, Darius, if you was in his position, do you know what I mean? What is it that you would then say to the manager? to get the best out of him. Because if I was playing, I'd say, right, to get the best out of me, I need the ball at my feet. I need to be in this position. I need to play here. I need to do this. And then you can see the best out of me. Surely that discussion, someone's mic, terrible. It's Darius. And he was the one who was going to ask the question too as well. When you get your mic sorted out, you can answer that one. Sid, if it was you then, if it was you, what would you be telling the manager to try and get the best out of you?
You know what? We've had this discussion before, haven't we? Playing in number 10 position, playing where he wants to play the best. And I'm sure he's already been played in them positions and they've not got anything out of him. So maybe if I was him, or maybe he's thinking, you know what? To get the best out of me, go and get me Ronaldo, go and get me Messi, go and get me Neymar, go and get me Mbappe, and then I'll play with them players and I'll play to my best ability. Because whatever position he's been played at Spurs, whenever he's played, there's nothing you can get out of him. And I don't know. Honestly, I do not know what the answer to that question is, because no matter where you play him, his preferred best position, they're not getting a tune out of him. And Conte's got his own plans for him. Conte's obviously seen his days at Spurs. Maybe he's seen some videos from Leon. So Conte knows what his best position is. He's going to then try and fit him in that position. But you can't play him every week in that position, because if it's not working, then you've got to change it. And as a manager, you're accountable. So you've then got to change it, pick and choose where you're playing the players. And if that's his favorite position and he's not doing it in that position, then you're stuck. And unfortunately, there's nothing anyone can do to get anything decent out of that player. And one thing I just want to add, right, is when we signed him on 200 grand a week, he was earning more than Son, Dyer, Lloris, right? How the hell can anyone coming into a club like that on the season at Lyon earn more than Kane, Son, or Dyer, and Lloris as well? I think he's still earning more. Lloris has just gone up to 200 now. I think he's earning more than Dyer and everyone else as well. So I think it's one of them situations where Conte's damned, he doesn't know what to do with him. And I don't know. I mean, if any of you guys think what his best position is, because I don't.
Guys, let me just get the super chats out of the way quick, and then we're going to have a quick talk about that. David, thank you very much, generous super chatter, always in the house. David Briscoe, he wouldn't mind. He seems arrogant, and his reaction slowing down despite fans booing him shows it. Sean saying set the under 23s on him like Mason and Kabul back in the day. Play Harvey White instead. We'll come to some of the solutions in a minute, but it's a lot of these things are easier said than done.
Of course.
But as what your last point, Sid, you mentioned about, you know, what is his best position? Does anybody know what that is?
Absolutely, the transfer list.
But Coover, that's not the best position, because we can't get rid of him. Nobody wants him.
True enough. The Danny Rose bench then.
I think it's probably centre mid, probably box to box, going past people. I think we haven't had a player like him since Moussa Dembele, and I think we've been crying out for someone like that. Yeah. Everybody thought he was going to be the next Moussa Dembele, with a slightly different surname, and it just hasn't been there. And it's a shame, because he has all the abilities to be that kind of player, but he just doesn't have the fitness or the aptitude to do it. So yeah, but I personally believe that's where he is strongest, in the centre mid, box to box position. But it's not. Do you think he's
box to box though? Do you think he has that ability to go box to box? And the reason I say that, there was that, as you mentioned about that clip, Sid, about when Jamie Carragher, he doesn't like to sprint. He doesn't like to really move a lot. I know we've seen games when he's done that, but it's almost like he's doing that out of duress. It's like, oh my God, I've got to run again. I've got to track back. Oh my God, I've got to press. It doesn't seem like he's enjoying that side of football. Now, I'm not saying that everybody enjoys having to run around, when particularly, and this is one of the things I'm looking at, when a team like us, who've been playing counter-attack football for the last couple of seasons at least, we don't have as much of the ball. And when a team has a player like Ndombele, you want to have as much of the ball as possible, so he doesn't have to do as much of the defending side, so then you can feed him the ball. Are we now in a position where, because of our style of play, maybe not so much now with Conte once he gets everybody up to scratch and we get players in, all the rest of it, but over the last couple of years, because of our style of play, has that had an impact potentially into the way Ndombele's performed? Silence is golden.
I think if you look at who he's played for under Pochettino, was it Pochettino when he first arrived? He was a large part of the season he was injured, wasn't he? If you look under Mourinho, we played so defensive. You could, and he did play a lot of his football under Mourinho at Spurs, but I don't know if playing the formation and the tactics that we had under Mourinho suited his game. And I mean, Mason, well, I won't get into Mason, but it's difficult when with playing Tanguy, unless you give him and trust him for like a consecutive run of games. I don't know if we know the type of player that we've got on our hands. When I say consecutive number of games, I'm talking like a dozen games, consecutive games, a dozen games to see actually what we have on our hands. Because I just don't think we as fans don't know what his best position is, because whenever he's playing, he seems to like play one or two games and then we don't see him for like, I don't know, a handful. Then he's back in for like the odd game, and then he's gone missing again for a hammer. It's never been a consecutive number of games that he seems to have played under, but certainly under Conte. So whether he fits Conte's system, I don't think we know, unless like I say, unless you give him a run of games just to see what he can do under Conte, because he does look like he's trimmed down. He doesn't look as big as what he was under, or when he was last season. Basically, he does look like he has trimmed down, but unless you give him a run of games, I just don't know whether he would fit under Conte's system or not. But the problem is, do you risk giving him a run of games? Because under the performance that he's given, it's like catch-22 situation. Do you trust him to give him a run of games, or have we seen enough and be like, no, we know what he's about. He's just not going to give us what we need. So just get rid of him. It's a catch-22 situation.
Right. So we're going to now move into the solutions and the punishment potentially on this one, because this is what I really, and I'm going to start off with you guys. Let's just get the next banner up, and I'm just going to put that down, the punishment and the solution. What Mike said that we should just get rid of him. The guy's on a couple $100,000 a week, as we've all talked about, supposedly. A contract that runs until 2025. It's a 6-year deal when he signed in 2019. So it's not like we can just say, right, pay you $5 million. Because if I was him, I'd say, hold on a minute, I'm earning $10 million a year here. I ain't just going for that. And I've got nearly 4 years left to do, 3 years, whatever it is.
3 years, yeah.
What can you see as a possible resolution? If you know, I'm talking about I'm talking about a whole resolution. Can he be reintegrated? Can somebody get a tune out of him at the club? Not just Conte, but the whole collective, because I've talked about his mates Sissoko, Aurier going. I don't know if that plays into it. I would hope that it shouldn't play that much of a part in it. But what do you see as a possible solution for this?
He will need to either have, like Mike said, a worldy run of like 12 games where it will sort of make every fan forget about what he's done, because now he's sort of completely I think, ruined the relationship with the match-going fans. Don't see how he gets back from it. If he doesn't play out of his skin every game, the fans are they're gonna get onto him. So for me, the only way you can really potentially sort of make any sort of money back on Ndombele is send him out on loan, and hopefully he does absolute wonders at the club he's at, and they end up buying him for the option to buy. That's the only way I can see us sort of getting him out. Because if, like you said, Sam, if you're Ndombele, and Ollie mentioned it, sort of the money is his motivation, you have to forget the last clubs he was at was Amiens and then Lyon. Sort of the money he was earning, I don't imagine is anywhere near $200,000 a week. You'd probably sit on your hands for 4 more years on that money, and then potentially go to a different club later on a free and earn similar, if not more money. So for me, the only way you're going to be able to get him out of this club really and truly is if a club comes in on an option to buy with a loan deal, and he actually goes out and performs out of his skin, and they think, okay, we're going to keep him. And then he might sort of, want to go there because he's enjoying his football. But it just seems like he enjoys to pick up a wage, and I think he'll potentially quote unquote fight for his place, but he might put in a few good performances, and a few fans may have their heads turned and think, oh, he's turning a corner. But for me, it's well and truly over now. So I don't really see any solutions. I just see sort of you have to find a way to try and, I don't know, hoodwink a team into to buying him for maybe 30, 40 million. So that's my only solution really to this Ndombele situation.
Kuva, what's your potential thoughts about how you deal with this situation now? Because as I said, it's going to be difficult to get rid of him in January. I think it's going to be difficult. If the player wants to go, different matter. He may, as we've talked about, decide to negotiate some form of deal. It's still going to be very costly. I don't think, and there's been some tweets going out that some clubs have even stated they're not prepared to pay that sort of money for him anyway in terms of his wages. So what would you see as a resolution?
I think Darius hit the nail on the head, to be honest. I was a bit worried when he started off saying, we'll just get him out on loan. And I thought he was going to say, perhaps he'll get his form back and we'll have him back. But I'm so glad you finished off with, and then they buy him, because he's finished. There's no way he's going to fit into this Conte team. Absolutely no way. The only way I can see him playing in any team is if you have an incredibly hard-working midfield around him, and then you just give him free roles sat behind the strikers to just create when he feels like it. But who's doing that nowadays?
He's not Messi, is he? The only player I can imagine who's allowed to do that is Messi, because Messi will let the whole play run by him. And
Messi, Ronaldo, that sort of player, or an Iniesta or something. But even Iniesta worked his socks off. So
exactly.
So he's got nothing to offer. He can't be bothered. He looks like he's exhausted if he has to turn round. By the time he's pulled his socks up in the dressing room, that's it. He comes out on a stretcher. And as for the weight loss, that's purely going to be down to the ketchup ban, isn't it? No, he's just got nothing. It's clawing back any money we possibly can off him, reducing the amount of wages we pay to him. I imagine we're going to see him going off to some club who doesn't really want to buy him at the end anyway. But they won't fancy getting him for a season and pay half the wages while we're paying the other half. I think that's the only way we're going to do anything. Because if you're a manager anywhere and you're looking for a creative player for your team, are you really going to look at Ndombele? I don't think so. You'd be better off looking in the Championship for some promising youngster there. There's just nothing to offer. I think the only chance he's really got is going a different sort of league, a slower pace, bit more emphasis on skill, less work rate, and it's looking like back to Leon. That'll be the perfect move for him.
Let me just read out this super chat from David. David, again, thank you for your generosity. Ndombele's best position is left back in the changing room. The oldies are always the best. They are. That's what we just say to the players.
Thing is, with Ndombele and his performances this season, are they any worse than what? Like, you look at Kane's at the beginning of the season, and like what we were all saying about Kane.
I agree.
Get rid of him. He's like, there was fans saying his performances, he doesn't want to be here, he wants to be elsewhere. But we've persisted, or Conte's persisted with him, or Nuno's persisted with him, and he's turned things around. And I think that's all down to Conte. I think the fact that Conte's at the club, I think with players, some of the players that may have had their sort of heads turned, or they say heads turned because they want out of the club, and they've done a bit of a U-turn. You can see it in like Kane's performances now. I don't think anyone will question his effort levels at all since Conte's arrived. Maybe Conte is the right manager for someone like Ndombele, who he could have a word with. He could just shout and scream and holler at him in his ear and sort of give him a good shake and maybe get a tune out of him. But
is Ndombele motivated by that? Well, if I just imagine if somebody was to shout in his face, he'd just be like, okay, sorry.
I think that as well.
I just don't think he cares. I genuinely don't think he cares.
And that's so bad.
Care, and it's so bad because he's so talented. But I know friends like that who are so talented at football, but they don't really care that much. And as much as you do want to give that person a chance because you see the good things, I've realized now when Kuva makes a point in this system isn't going to work. Like even playing a free role in that sort of in the 10, if we do move to a 3-5-2, you're going to need somebody who's going to be able to track back because those players are up and down that pitch. And if he can't do that, the play will just go by us and we'll be dominating midfield. And that's not what I want to see. Just to sort of fit Ndombele into a team. There's many other players in that market now, younger and older, who will do a much better role than, or do a much better job than Ndombele. And I think we're going to be stuck with him for, if he doesn't go in January, I think we're stuck with him for another year or two, to be honest. He'll probably go on loan, like you said, for one of them. It's just sort of trying to subsidize wages. I just think we made a big mistake. Like Kuva said, we haven't looked into sort of player mentality and sort of what they do off the pitch and how they actually are. To be honest with you, the only reason I think we bought him is because Man City were looking at him because he had a good game against them in the Champions League. Oof. Real Madrid were looking at him, and I think Tottenham were thinking, Champions League final, we need to make a statement. We need to get a big signing in. Let's give him the money. He joined us because he got the bigger wage and obviously the more money in the longer contract, and that's what's happened. So I just think it's a big fat mistake. I tried to basically hold faith for 2 years, and I can see now it's done. So to me, just try and find some way to get him out and move on with it in my opinion. Because like you said, Mike, the Harvey White and Alfie Devine, I'd rather give more time to than Ndombele. And to be honest, if he's going to sort of hinder their chances of getting in the team or potentially stop them from signing a contract because they want more game time, I'm going to be angry. So to be honest with you, I'd rather them come in and like you said, either put him in the under-23s or send him on loan for the next 4 years of his contract, to be honest with you.
But see, we're talking about like where his best position is, but he did have a good game earlier this season against who was it? Newcastle.
And that's what we're doing. We're having to think about
one good game against probably the worst team in the league.
What game has he had a good game? We're having to think so hard.
But the point of it is he played further forward, almost in that 10 role, and he had a good game there. But then he got dropped for I think it was the Villa game after that, wasn't it? And he got dropped for some reason. So perhaps his best role is more advanced, as in further up the pitch than maybe sort of in the Højbjerg / Skip role.
But he will still need to work, Mike, though, won't
60 million euros pre-pandemic got you Bruno Fernandes. And that's what I'm trying to say.
It doesn't matter whether or not he plays further up the pitch. If you look at Manchester City, all their players work harder than any other team. Individually, they work harder. All their forwards, and they've got so many attacking players, but their stats show that they have to work as hard. So even if he's playing as a number 10, or even if he's playing more of an advanced, he's still going to have to work. He's still going to have to press from the front. He's still going to have to do that. Might be,
but this is where, like we're saying, what ticks his boxes and stuff. And it might be to get the best out of him. I don't know who mentioned about getting the best out of someone, but to get the best out of him, it might be the fact that to get the best out of him, we have to play him further forward behind whoever it might be. If we go 3-5-2 and play the one behind the two, as in like a number 10, or essentially, that might be his best position. And if Son's out, which he is for a couple of weeks, you might find that's where you could try him and see what happens. Conte could just turn around and say, look, if you want to get these fans, if you do want to stay at this club and you want to get the fans back on your side, we've got a game. Is it tomorrow? We've got the semi-final.
Yeah, tomorrow.
We've got a semi-final tomorrow.
So what? Okay, then I'll ask Ollie, and then I'll come back to you, Mark. Would you play him there? If you was Conte, how do you solve this problem with him? Would you just play him where he wants to play? If he says to you tomorrow, he asks Ndombele, where do you want to play? And he says, well, I want to play just off the striker. Do you bow to that to see, or is it a case of Conte's got to show strong leadership here and deal with the matter in hand? Because I think this is going to affect transfers going forward because of the fact that this guy's earning so much, and potentially it might have an effect in the summertime, in fact, as well, depending on how much money we spend. So what do you do as Conte now?
Yeah, I don't think he's ever going to say, I want to play here, I want to play there. I think he's just going to do whatever he wants anyway on the pitch. I think it all comes down to Ndombele. I don't think anyone can, as you said, Darius, if someone was to yell at him, I don't think he's going to do anything. I think he would, as you say, just shrug his shoulders and say, who cares? It all comes down to him. A lot of you saying the solution is to sell him. I think it's very unlikely that he's ever going to turn it around, but we have seen it with Moussa Sissoko. We all were burning his shirts. We thought it was over with Moussa Sissoko, and then we were cheering his name. So it's not impossible that he turns it around. He might. We're all waiting for him to wake up one day and have an epiphany that he needs to, pull his finger out and work a bit harder. It's probably not going to happen, but I wouldn't say it's impossible.
Ollie, he needs to pull his whole hand out, not just his finger, his whole bloody hand. That's what he has to pull out. He can't pull his finger out now. He's got to do more than that.
He's got a lot of work to do.
He's got so much.
I think the Premier League is just not right for him. I think he needs someone like a Serie A where it's a slower paced game. I think the Premier League is a bit too intense. I think he can't be asked for it. He can't be bothered to make the effort. So if I was Conte, yeah, if he's asking to play in a certain position, I'd probably just let him do it, depending on what the game is, because if he's happy, if he's actually going to be making an effort about something, then yeah, give him a go in the position he wants to play. I personally believe, yeah, in the number 10 role, he probably does excel because it means he doesn't have to run as much as if he's a CDM. I think the CDM role is where he would excel if he was, if he was fitter, if he was a bit more athletic and stuff. But yeah, I think Conte's got a really tough job because he doesn't fit into his plans, as you say. I think he's going to go in January. I think he'll have a sit down with Ndombele and say, "Where's your head at?" But ultimately, I don't think he really fits into his plans. And we've done a story on that this week that Conte's kind of the fan booing kind of spoke volumes for him, and I think he's kind of made his mind up on it now.
Sid, if an offer came in for 20 million and you're Daniel Levy, do you take that?
Right. This morning I was listening to a certain station, radio station with Mr. Jordan, ex-QP, Crystal Palace chairman, and they were exactly discussing what we're discussing now. And I think they said about selling him, and he said in this current climate and in this current market, because I think he worked it all out, he said anything up to £25 million is a good bit of business for Spurs, without taking a hit on the last 3 years and moving forward. He said if Spurs take 20 to 25 million, that's good for Spurs as a bit of business because they're not going to get rid of him in the summer or whatever. But I think Conte will not listen to what he's got to say, because can you imagine the rest of them, Harry Kane, Son, or anyone, if he's gone up to Conte and said, put me in this position, I want to play there, and Conte agrees to that, then that means every other player is going to go up to him and say, right, I want to play in that position. I want to play in that position. So if anything comes, I mean, I agree with what everyone's saying here. There's nobody coming into this window with 20, 25, 30 million, 40 million to buy him. I think Napoli are the latest club to be linked with him this afternoon. But again, they're all looking at loans, and they're going to have to sit down and decide what they want to do, because I think we've all agreed maybe a loan is the best move for him. So if anyone comes in with the loan, they're going to have to take it and then just rely, hopefully, like Darius said, that in the summer, he plays so well in that country, whichever country he goes to, that they say, hey, let's take a punt on him. But
the thing is, though, if we get rid of any players, the state of our squad and the size of our squad, we have to replace him.
Agreed.
So who are we going to buy that's going to be like a talent at that sort of price?
Would you promote somebody? Would you promote someone from the under 23s?
Nah, you've got to go in the market, and for me, it's sort of.
If you want to finish in top four, we can't really rely on.
You have to.
No.
Yeah, it's 100%. I mean, you can bring them into the squad, but if you're going to sell Ndombele, and what it seems like as well, it does seem like Lo Celso also could move out. I don't know if both of them will move out, but if you sell both of them, you have to bring in somebody of that sort of quality. Well, not of their quality, but you know what I mean? You have to buy a top quality player to replace those two, because I actually think you can replace those two players with one player, because I don't think those two do enough. I think
not in January,
in itself. But no, but what I'm saying is, if you were to lose both of them and only replace them with one creative midfielder who is a very, very good one, I don't think you'd feel the loss of two midfielders, because I don't think those two
size
are
of
actually...
I think it's a numbers game for us, though. Part of it's a numbers game.
I don't think it is, because the
squad's not big enough. Look at the options we have. Like, you look at the
back line. To be honest with you, though, okay, with the defense, sorry, Mike, with the defense, maybe, but with sort of, I don't think we're going to beat Chelsea in that Carabao Cup. I think we'll probably go out of that. There's only 2 cups that we're in for the rest of the season. I think you can sort of afford to have a thinner squad if it means sacrificing sort of a player or two to fund a better player. I would not mind losing a player or two, because I think that the competitions have gone. I don't think we're going to beat Chelsea. We're out of Europe, so it's only the FA Cup and the league that you're really going for. That's 2 games a week. So I think that it's possible that with a thinner squad in January, if you have to sell a couple more to fund maybe 1 or 2 better players, I think it's worth going for. Look what Arsenal did. They've already shifted out Maitland-Niles. He's already gone. I think they're trying to fund this Vlahovic deal. So to sacrifice a few players, you might have to do that.
these two haven't created anything. If you put their stats
But-
together for the season, they've created
Yeah,
Jack.
the Celso's been injured most of it, so we can't really take that into account.
But they're almost.
can't-
But he's
you
always
can't-
miraculously
you can't
ready for
criticise.
Argentina, and he's always man of the match for Argentina.
Yeah, but
I'm not
I do-
convinced he's motivated either.
I do agree with what Mike's saying as well, and I agree with both sides. We need bodies. If you get rid
We
of
have
two
to.
players, even if you bring one in, that player could get injured. Do you know what I'm saying?
So bring
So
so
if you-
bring one
COVID.
from the academy and one
COVID.
top quality player. Then
Yeah.
that's
but
what you
are
do, wouldn't you?
are the academy players good enough? That's what we think we're going to touch on in a bit.
You'll never
Now, are
know
they
until
good
you give
enough?
them the opportunity.
Yeah, but
That's correct, that's true.
this is where this is where us as a fan base have to be realistic. Then, like, if what are our aspirations of for this season? If we want top 4, then if we're going to sell Lo Celso and Ndombele, we need the bodies to come in, and they need to be of a level that is they're basically better than what we've got, an upgrade to what we have. Otherwise, if we're bringing the academy players up, then we're resigning ourselves to just existing in the league 7th, 8th, 9th, wherever it might be. Because
Do you think Brian Hill could play as a centre mid? Because I mentioned
No.
it sort of on a stream I did with Jack. I actually think as an advanced centre mid, I don't. He beats players
Not
so
this
easily.
season.
Brian Hill. I think he could fill the role that Lo Celso is meant to be playing in that role, or potentially what Lucas Moura is doing on the right hand side as well as coming into midfield. I think you can sort of rotate players to play in positions, and then also look into buying another forward player, for example. Because for me, again, going forward, if Kane gets injured now, and I think this on injury is slightly worse than what people are making out to be, in my opinion. If Kane does get injured, like you said, Mike, we are finished for goals going forward. So again, looking forward, would you sacrifice putting Brian Hill in a deeper position to then go
So
and get
before that question
a better
gets answered,
forward?
before that question gets answered, because we're moving quite nicely onto the last part. Let me just get these super chats in, because we've got quite a few comments coming in. So sorry, Ben, I forgot to mention your super chat here. And Ndombele's position is a big booth at McDonald's, a huge booth at McDonald's. Jack, thank you, Jack. Tanguy's best performances were under Jose when he played as a cam in front of Sissoko and PEH.
it was Newcastle.
The Newcastle
was
game
Newcastle,
this
yeah.
season is another good example. Just going back on that, but going to the point about the play. So, and this will be the last part of the show. So,
I think there was another super chat, Sam. Did you see it?
Oh, let me get back to the super chat. Thank you for seeing that. Let me see. Where is it?
It's only just because I just see it here on my from
Oh, there's
Crocodile.
loads. Here we go. Wow. Big super chat here for Crocodox. Thank you very much. Anyone read Ali Gold's article tonight in the transfer meeting? Apparently, it was a positive, which really is messing my brain up. How the window has gone so far. Well, it didn't look too positive when I saw the start of the interview or press conference, should I say, with Conte. But supposedly, we might have a little bit more. Right. Let me just put up this the best of the rest. Let me just read this from my phone. These, and sorry if there's any repeats in here. These are the players that have come in since Bale.
Oh,
Eric
God.
Lamela, Christian Eriksen, Roberto Soldado, Paulinho, Nasser Chadley, Ben Davis, Fabricio Fazio, Benjamin Stambouli, Michael Vaughan, Eric Dyer, DeAndre Yedlin, Dele Alli, Son Heung-min, Toby Alderweireld, Clinton NG, you remember him, who's great, Kevin Vimmer, Kieran Trippier, Musa Sissoko, Vincent Janssen, another worldie, Victor Wanyama, George Kevin Nkudu, genius, Davinson Sanchez, Serge Aurier, Fernando Llorente, Juan Foyth, Paolo Gazzaniga, Lucas Moura, Tanguy Ndombele, Ryan Sessegnon, Jack Clark, Giovanni Lo Celso, Stephen Bergwijn, Gedson Fernandez, Matt Doherty, Pierre-Emile Emerick Hobias, should I say, Joe Hart, Gareth Bale again, Sergio Reguilon, Christian Romero, Emerson Royal, Joe Roden, Brian Hill, Papi Sarr, and Galini. Now,
How many was that, Sam?
before, I don't even know, but before anybody says to me that Spurs don't buy players or spend money, just have a look at that. The problem isn't about buying players. The problem is the shit players that we've bought.
It's the recruitment, the hitching.
I
Hitch
think
out.
that, and the thing is,
out.
when you said that, I could have counted
Get rid
15
of him.
players who I didn't actually mind. I think
Clinton
also
NG, George, Kevin, and Kudu.
You said Kevin Vimmer.
Kevin Wimmer, yeah, centre half. Yeah.
penny pinching, isn't it? I think if you
Yedlin.
sort of, the
Yedlin was
issue
another one.
is
Women, chicken dinner.
it's a sort of penny pinching, isn't it, Sam? Sorry, just to say, like, sort of imagine you collating all those prices.
Yeah,
Just
Galini as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
What the man that's so immobile, he makes Nuno look like he's breakdancing.
But Scuba,
Yeah,
can you explain to me why there's not more being pushed around this. Well, I know it's happening now, but why in the past? These scouts somebody needs to be held account for this. If it's Steve Hitchin or the scouts, whoever it is, somebody needs to be held account for them names that I've just read out. There's a handful of them that we could say, oh yeah, they were good signings. What needs to happen going forward with Paratici now in place? What does he need to do to make sure that this shit doesn't happen again?
Well, the thing is, I've had this theory for a long time now about the likes of Hitchin. Hitchin's got his job because he's a yes man to Levy. Levy likes to deal with Hitchin no matter what. So, although the scouting network might be out there, they'll get the same sort of players back on these lists. So all the big clubs will be floating around with the same sort of names. But when it comes to actually signing them, Hitchin will go, oh, here's who I think we should sign. And Levy talks him into, oh, no, look at the price down there. That looks a lot better value. Can we go for them? Oh, yes, Mr. Levy. We end up with crap. Now, the hope is with Paratici will go, here's the list, Mr. Levy. And you go, oh, look, we could get that one down there. And Paratici will go, no, we need this one at the top. That's the difference. That's what makes Hitchin so useless. And that's the way I'm seeing it anyway, because why else would he still be at the club? There is no reason, is there? None of us see anything other than that. So it's just got to be somebody that Levy likes dealing with. That's why I think we're heading for a monumentous sort of bust up and people leaving in the summer, in my opinion. I don't think Paratici and Conte are going to put up with it. And I don't think Levy's going to change his spots. 21 years of form says it won't. The hope is, though, they can sort of force their own will upon the chairman. I mean, good luck with that. But
what could happen, though, if that does go to that sort of level, though, if you lose your director of football and what is probably your best manager since anyone but Poch, really, but
it's a world we don't want to go down, is it?
Like, what will happen with the fan base? I don't think I hope Levy doesn't even start thinking about that, because I can imagine the sort of terror and carnage that would ensue among Spurs fans if Conte walks, or if even Paratici walks. And I know some people aren't fond of Paratici, but if any of them walked Kuva, I could just imagine pure carnage among this fan base.
It would be
worse. Unrectifiable. You couldn't get back. Even if you were to get Pep from Man City, I don't think people would be convinced that you'd do anything for Pep. So
the carnage would be worse than what happened. You'll go back to the days of when Lord Sugar, I mean, he got some right abuse. I remember seeing fans jumping on his motor trying to rip his convertible roof off the motor and stuff. It'd be worse than what happened to Sugar. And I think Levy can't be stupid enough to think that if he lets Paratici or Conte go under a cloud sort of thing, he knows he's going to be in for an absolute barrage of abuse, verbal.
It will get very, very bad, won't it?
He just wouldn't want that. It's a world he wouldn't want to. I don't think he'd would want.
Let me ask Sid then. Sid, if because I don't think we're going to get masses in this transfer window here. Two parts of the question. A, can Conte coach his way out of this in terms of coaching some of these players? We've seen some improvements. Given more time, can he, and given the players that are coming back, we've got Christian Romero to come back. Son obviously is out for a little while. And we've got, players like Ryan Sessegnon, who's now another option. Can Conte coach his way out of this? And if he can't, given that he's going to be limited, how many players realistically do you think we're going to be able to get in?
Can he coach his way out of it? I think he can, because he's already said it in his one or two interviews, hasn't he? That I'm stuck with what I've got. I can't get rid of anyone because I've got no takers for these players. I have to go with what I've got, and I'll try my best to get the best out of all these players. And I think he's trying to get the best out of them. Certain players, he's not going to get the best out of them, and he's going to be stuck in a pickle with that one. And secondly, and I've said this all along, it's always we're linked to him. We've put a bid in. We're in negotiations. We've sent representatives. But as always, we're not going to get the players that we want. I mean, latest what I've heard is this meeting that they've had in the Bahamas, they've agreed to a right wing back, a centre back, and a striker. It's not going to happen. We've known this all along. And Daniel Levy's just doing what Daniel Levy does, promises the world, and he's probably promised Conte all these, and we're not going to get anyone. I honestly, if we get anyone, it depends on what Mike said as well, and what all of you have said is outgoings. There has to be some outgoings, and if anything, if there's no outgoings, then the most I can see coming in, maybe 1, 2 at maximum, and I'm clutching at straws here, but minimum I think we'll probably end up getting 2 and 1, and a maximum we'll get 2. And Conte's gonna have to stick with what he's got, because all these deals that all these players that we're linked with, it's all about in the summer. Apparently now on Sky and everywhere, it's saying that we're looking at Lingard as a proposed summer deal. So everything's in the summer. So by the looks of it, we're going to get about £500 million worth of players in the summer, which is not going to happen. Everyone knows Conte. Cuba summed it all up. It's him. Everyone knows Levy, what he's like, what he's going to do. He's going to promise Conte, yes, you can have him, we'll have meetings, yeah. When the push comes to the shove, he's going to say, yeah, you wanted £100 million, man. I've got £1 million, man. There you go, you can have him.
So let me ask, and it's going to be for both Mike and Throlly. Is it more important, given the fact that I think we're going to be looking more of a rebuild in the summertime, and that potentially could this £500 million? I'm not sure about that, but is it now going to be more important to January? And I'll ask Mike first. Is it going to be more important for January to get certain players out who might be on wages that are astronomical to free up the wage bill, or do we still have to get 1 or 2 players in? Because I'm not sure how many of these players we're going to get in. But I agree with some of the things, though. I do think we need to get some players out just to get a breath of fresh air. Just because, we did that with Aurier. He was deemed to be a bit of a bad egg. Sissoko, we moved these players on. So it's important to get some of these players out if we don't get players in? Start with you, Mike. I
don't think we can afford to get players out if we're not bringing players in. The size of the squad, if COVID hits us, or if injuries, or a combination of both, we're stuffed. So I don't think we can get players out unless we're definitely going to get players in, because the squad just won't. If we've got aspirations, or if us as a fan base and the club are looking at top 4 as a possibility, then we've got to give ourselves every fighting chance. And that would be, for me, players go out, the same number of players at least come back in. And there is a couple, I won't go into certain names, but there's a couple of players that need to go just purely on the basis that they're just not good enough to play for this club. And any player that we bring in to replace them has to be an upgrade. And that's the way we should be looking at the first 11 now. Any players that we're trying to bring in should really and truly improve or upgrade or be an upgrade on that first 11. And whoever they're replacing in that first 11 should then drop to the bench, and then that's just start of a build of a stronger squad. Doesn't mean to say that whoever's getting dropped to the bench can't be sold on, or whoever's dropping from the bench into the squad can't be sold on. But it's just it's a start, isn't it? And that's what I think that's what we need. Just once you move on one player, then you might have a domino effect of a few players moving on. And I know there's been talk of Doherty sort of moving on in exchange of, or part exchange with Adama Traore, and apparently, depends if you believe the reports, Ajax have come in with an £80 million bid for Bergwijn, but
rejected,
and it was so it's rejected. So
yeah.
This is the thing. If you take out, and you could argue Bergwijn's one of those that's sat on the treatment table for a long time. Well, if we get rid of him, we need to bring in someone as a replacement. And if Bergwijn goes, then you could argue, maybe they see Traore as the replacement for Bergwijn, who is fitter and would feature more. But for me, I think we can't afford to lose players and not bring players in. I just don't think the size of the squad's just not up to it. And I know Darius mentioned about certain cups. We're only in a couple of cups, etc. But again, if we want to win these cups, then you need and if we want to do well in the league, if we are struggling, we need players that are on the bench that are going to be able to turn a game around. Or if we're trying to shut up shop, we need players that can come off the bench, and help tighten the ship so we don't concede and get us over the line in whatever game it might be. But you look at that bench at the moment, and does it fill anyone with any confidence?
No, it doesn't. It
But
really
that's the
doesn't.
problem.
And so for Ollie, sorry, Cooper. I just want to get Ollie's just comments on that because I wanted to get his views on that. Is it where do you see the level of importance? Is it more important to get certain players out, or is it more important to get players in, even by keeping somebody players? Because I think that's going to be a problem for us. We've done that in the past. You try to get players, get them in first, or do you get rid of players first? It's a real hard one to do. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, get them in. I think the squad is incredibly stale. If you looked at the team that played against Chelsea, how many players were in the Pochettino era? How many players were bought by Pochettino? You know, Lloris, Pochettino player. Davinson Sanchez, Pochettino player. Ben Davis, was he a Pochettino player even before that? Kane, obviously, brought in with Pochettino. Lucas Moura, Winksy was a big Pochettino player. I mean, it needs a refresh. We need the depth. There's too many players who have just been with us for too long, and that's great. We've got the loyalty, but we need a sprinkling of something, a sprinkling of quality. So I think, yeah, we need to focus on the recruitment. I don't know about Adama Traore. I think
that's going to divide opinion, isn't it?
You guys want him? I think he's all muscle, all speed, and no skill and no end products. I think it's all good. Like, we don't need another player like Steven Bergwijn who looks good running on the ball and then can't actually do anything with it. I mean, I would love to be proven wrong. If he brings in Adama and turns him into a Victor Moses like he did with Victor Moses, I'll be over the moon. Trust me. But I'm very skeptical about that.
But that's what I'm saying. He's going to have to develop him. So he's not going to bring him in straight away and he's going to be a right wing back. He's going to have to be developed. So we're going to have to go through that period.
Yeah, but Adama's skill set alone will allow him to sort of be an impact on a game. Come on, man. Like, even if you brought him off the bench for 20 minutes, he will have an impact on a game, even if he can't defend or anything in the last. I'm not advocating sort of spending the 20 million if you can go and get a better player, because I would say sell 3 players, put that money together and get one incredible player. But if
I'd be scared coming up against Adama Traore. Have you seen him? Oh my days.
Anybody would. I just think
he'd be a threat depending on where he's. If he's coming in as a right winger, which is where which appears to be his natural sort of position. Yeah, cool. But he hasn't got. You look at the size of him. He is not built to run up and down that flank for 90 minutes. He'll gas out.
Right, how can you
30 minutes? He can't.
It makes no sense to try and bring him as a right wing back because he's going to have to work so hard, and B, because at the moment we're a more defensive team, he's going to have to be a defender more than he's going to be an attacker.
He'd have to cut.
Don't fill me with no confidence that he can defend.
So he can't cross.
He'd have to cut weight as well because he won't be able to run up and down with that large frame. It just. Yeah.
Cooper,
it's just a rumor.
Are you a fan? Are you a fan of this Adama Traore coming in? Because everybody's got opinions about it. But
okay. A couple of things to say on Adama Traore. One, for any football manager fan, all I'll say about him is set all the skill settings to 0, put the physicals up to 20. That's him. He's got the skill set of a dog fetching a stick. That's it. Absolutely pointless. He can't score, he can't create, he can't pass, doesn't tackle back. What does he do? He's absolutely pointless. He's there for novelty value only. I'm hoping we sign him just so we can have a laugh if we're losing badly.
Oh, don't.
Right, I'm going to...
Don't depress me more, Kuba.
Don't do it. Right, I want Sid and Darius to come in this because Darius has got the balance. So, Darius, give me the balance to the Adama Traore side of things from your perspective. And then, Sid, you can give me your balance because I'm not sure.
To be honest with you, like I said, there are many options better than a Traore. That's not what I'm trying to say. Also, what I'm trying to say is it seems like he's the only option that's going to be available for Tottenham as a right wing back. I would have him over Doherty in a heartbeat. And in terms of impacting off the bench, he will do more than Bergwijn off the bench, guaranteed, because Bergwijn can't finish that much better than him. He'll do more than Ndombele coming off the bench because Ndombele doesn't even want to work. So for me, in terms of an £18 million, which is what it seems like, just to throw money at it because they are going to, it's what it seems like. I'm not mad at it because I know that he will do more than most players that are on the bench right now. And also, after what I saw against Manchester United, they wouldn't have won that game, despite them playing well the whole game. Traore coming on that pitch, putting that ball in the box for Jimenez to win the header, led to that Moutinho goal and wouldn't have happened if Traore wasn't on the pitch. So there's positives to it, but at the same time, you can't hide from the fact that there are plenty other players as right wing backs, and also there are positions on the pitch that I think we need to sort of look at more. I don't really understand why right wing back is such a panic for everyone. I do get it. There's two not very good right wing backs, but for me, the centre mid is a big issue. And also, to be honest with you, if Kane gets injured, I don't really know what we're going to do for goals going forward. So I just...
He hasn't scored that many though, has he?
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about... That's what I'm saying about Traore and sort of going for a right wing back in general. I just think that while he will, in my opinion, probably give us better options because of the amount of crosses I've seen Emerson put in and not do very much with, Traore has got a better cross than him. It's just, it's not the position we should be going for. A centre mid and a forward player, in my opinion, and more goal scoring forward player is what we should be going for. But again, he's better than Doherty, and I'd take anybody over Doherty. So that's my only fighting case.
I give that. Yeah.
It's my only fighting case.
Sid, what's your thoughts on this? And then I'll read this. Wait, before you say that, let me just read this super chat out from Croaky Locks here. Traore's way better on the ball than Bergwijn. I ain't sure about that. I'm not sure about that. But Bergwijn is a confidence player, but we haven't got the patience to waste games so that his confidence can develop. And that's what I'm saying. Wasting time on him, in my opinion. Sid, sorry.
So I think impact player, I'd rather have more all day long as an impact player because his impact when he comes on as a sub is way better.
But more as a starter, Sid. That's the thing at the moment.
Yeah,
more as a starter.
Well, yeah, I know. But if we've got the riches of having him on the bench, then that. But secondly, just to big up Darius, we can. If Kane gets injured, we can play Traore up front because he'll scare the shit out of defenders, won't he?
Exactly.
Yeah. But apart from that, mate, no.
He'll score them goals like he did last season, or the season before that.
Yeah, top goal scorer.
Yeah, top goal scorer, isn't it?
No, right wing back, no, not for me. And I think me and Sam are on the same boat with this. Not for me, mate. I don't care. We're not going to get that much out of him. He's going to be running down. We're going to have to change that pitch into an American football pitch, so the ground is going to be busy. And
it's lunacy. He's a road runner.
But like Darius said, though, you'd have him over Doherty all day long.
If you're shipping out Doherty to get Traore on a cut price, and any of you say no to that, despite
that's a different matter. That's a different.
But it's not though, because that's what's happening. Like I would take it will happen. Doherty is not staying at this club, and Traore is coming to Tottenham. In my opinion, I think that's two things that are a guarantee, and I can't really see a bad thing to that.
I'm gonna cry.
I don't know how you could cry, Sam. Doherty playing as a right back makes me want to cry.
Okay, what's going to happen is
I agree with what Darius saying.
Like what Doherty did. Was all talking Doherty up. He's come to the club and he's got drained out of it. He's not very good. We've done this before with players. He looks like a very impactful player, but I don't know if he can defend. I don't think he can defend.
Sam,
and if he
I don't think it matters when you're the size of Traore, mate. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't think it matters how good or bad you are when you can run past 12 players and potentially.
So who's going to do the defending for him then?
I'm not doing this no more because I can't do it with him no more. Because it's going to be.
If you want Doherty to be our right back, Sam, that's fine. I'd rather Traore than Doherty, and that's the point I'm going to run with now because you lot have supported that. Right.
I'm going to ask you all.
You have to agree with what Darius is saying there. Like,
yeah, but
Traore or Doherty, this is just a no-brainer.
This is what we're saying. We're polishing turns here. We've got Doherty. He's that bad. He's that bad. So when you see players like Traore, you think, yeah, because of who we've got. Would you take Traore over Cancelo or someone like that?
Are you going to get come on, Sam.
I'm just asking the question. So go for someone who can play that position.
That's what I'm talking about being realistic, Sam. The only other player I can imagine in a right wing back role that you could get maybe for a cut price is Mazraoui out of Ajax because he's
Try and get someone like Lamptey. Try and
But
get someone like
you're
Lamptey.
not going to get Lamptey because you're going to have to pay £50 million
50
for him.
million.
You
Yeah,
said,
right.
Are you
you
gonna wanna
said,
drop 50
your
million
words,
on a right
your
wing back?
words, your words
Yeah,
were
nah.
spend the money on a good player
No.
as opposed to
No, because then
Oh.
okay, so I would rather spend 50 million on a centre mid that's going to boss us for the next 10 years, or 50 million towards Vlahovic, who's going to boss the forward for the next 10 years, then drop 50 million on Lamptey, who's going to not. Obviously, Lamptey's a great right back, but he's not worth 50 million pounds. So for me, if you've got a situation where there's not much you can do, you bought Emerson as a right back, you sacked your manager halfway through, he's now going to have to be a makeshift right wing back. That's unfortunate. You've got a.
He's only young though. He can
He's
still
young,
produce.
so
Sam,
I've got
we
time
need
for
to
him.
move
I've got
off.
time for
We
him.
need to move off Traore,
You know what?
mate.
Let's-
Let's
I
talk
know,
about
I know.
Tanguy.
This is
Let's
what
talk about
I'm-
Tanguy.
I'm
Forget this guy.
even done about Tanguy. I want to just come around and ask all of you about this. What do you? Oh, sorry. What would you like to happen, and what would you expect to happen come February the 1st? Kuva, start with you. What's your expectations? But what would you actually like to happen come February the 1st?
What would I like to happen? Enoch and Levy out. Amazon then buying up the club and putting in several billion, making us the greatest team on earth. Since that's not going to happen, what I think will happen, we'll get a token signing on deadline day, maybe a couple of days before.
Oh, God.
Totally underwhelming. Maybe somebody on loan. And Conte's going to walk in the summer. That's what I think.
I'm scared.
Nice and positive. then.
Nice one, Ku. Nice one, Kuva.
Daniel Levy. We've had it for 20 years. When are people going to learn? Happens
we-
all the time.
We're getting to that point again in the fan base, aren't we? Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit toxic because I think things need to be done. I think we just want to see players come from. I think
Come on, let's go for a realistic one on what I would like to see. 3 energetic, youngish midfielders. They can be journeyman midfielders. They don't have to be brilliant. They just have to be good standard, technical ability, able to pass a ball, able to chip in with a goal or two, can defend. Throw them into the team, liven it up. Conte will do the rest. He'll elevate their playing level to a much better standard, and we'll just fill in those empty spaces with a few basic footballing ability players.
Somebody who can actually run, mate.
someone who can kick a. We can't be asking for players that can kick a ball. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
we are
that's
that
how bad
low.
it is.
We are that low and that bad. That's why Traore looks like a worldie. He's not a worldie. I'm sorry to mention him again. Ollie, what do you expect, and what would you like, firstly? But what do you expect to happen come February 1st?
I'll try not to be playing Football Manager because we would all like to sign Lewandowski and players like that.
Haaland, I'll take Haaland.
But what I would like, in a realistic, I saw Nico Barella play for Italy at Euro 2020, and I really like him. He might be quite similar to a few players we have, but I would quite like us to splash out on a nice centre mid who can pick a pass and float a few nice passes around and unlock defences. I think he'd be great. Centre back is absolutely, we need someone to play alongside Romero. Matthias de Ligt, really like him, probably won't come. But I'm just thinking of like Italian players who love, Italian-based players who love Conte. So de Ligt, Skriniar, the player we've been linked with for ages. Either of those guys, De Vries, worked with Conte before. And we need a striker. No more Vincent Janssens, no more. Who was that guy we had last year from Benfica? What was his name?
Oh, Vinicius.
Vinicius.
Who actually was. I actually didn't mind him, to be fair, Ollie. I'm not going to lie to you.
No more players
He
like
just wasn't given it a fair crack, was
Yeah,
he?
he's done well in the cups.
sign a striker who can actually challenge Kane and make him worried. Vlahovic is that guy, but I'm not paying £300 a week. No thanks. So if that's what he's demanding, he can stay at Fiorentina. No one's giving him that. And if Arsenal do, then good luck to Arsenal. He's not worth that. But yeah, striker, centre mid, centre back, right back, Lamptey would be great. Not going to happen. What I think will happen, we probably will get Traore because Conte thinks he's like a Mr. Project guy. He thinks he's going to turn Traore. He's like Project Runway. He thinks he's going to like change him and turn him into a different player. If that happens, great. But yeah, I think he'll get Traore, and I'm hearing that we want a striker, so I think a striker will come in. Whether it's Vlahovic, I don't know.
It's not.
But,
We had a laugh at Sid when he said Vlahovic. What did you say, Sid? Vlahovic, Kessie, and there was somebody else that you said.
No, two. I said Kessie and
Oh, was it
Vlahovic.
Kessie and Vlahovic?
Kessie.
And we were rolling all over the stream, literally rolling all over the stream with laughter because that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
There's a lot that's not going to happen.
Vlahovic won't.
You got to dream, but Kessie would be great as well. But yeah, I mean, he's going on a free transfer in the summer, so maybe we'll get him in the summer.
Okay, Darius.
Yeah.
What do you expect to happen come February 1st?
I'll do what I expect to happen first. I think we'll get Traore in. We'll get potentially a centre mid in, and then we'll probably get like a forward on loan, maybe, just because I do feel like another forward might go down in the space of sort of now to the end of January. So it might be like a panic sort of loan buy. What I want to see, Kuva hit it on the head. I want a midfielder that can work hard. My dream one would be a Konrad Laimer at Leipzig. He's sort of my ideal centre mid for us. A right wing back who can actually play right wing back would be great as well, because again, Conte's formations and systems and sort of his whole philosophy revolves around having good right backs. So yeah, to be honest with you, it has to be a centre mid, it has to be a forward player. Again, like Ollie said, Vlahovic would be the dream, but no way is he worth what apparently his agents are trying to fork out of teams. So not really worth that. But again, I think you could get a decent striker on loan who's not really wanted at a club. I mentioned Martial on the stream with Thingy, a 6-month loan for a player like that, an example of a player who's not wanted at a team who you can get on loan, who's good quality, just for the end of the season. You could do that. So I would say a centre mid, a centre back, a right back, and a striker, if that's what I want, but that's not what we're going to get.
The thing is, though,
what we're gonna get.
Aren't we bombarded with centre midfielders?
But I'm thinking my mentality is that Lo Celso and Dele and also Ndombele all go, because I want them all to go, but they're not going to go. So my mentality with getting a centre mid in is 2 of them have gone, and you really go and invest in a good centre mid and getting a good one. Example again, Bruno Guimaraes at Lyon, 45 million would get him out of that club, and he would slot in and be amazing. Yeah. Florian Grillitsch, again, another example, goes on a free in summer. You put in a 5 million bid like United are potentially going to do with Dennis Zakaria, and you can get a decent player for a very low fee. So there's obviously deals to do. It's just whether Spurs want to actually, like you said, pull the whole hand out and maybe take a risk or two, but look at the scouting network and buy a few decent players. So
I don't think centre mid.
What's your thoughts then? Go on, and I'll leave Sid till last because you might do a little bit of a song as well, help us out as well. I said no. What's your expectations? What do you think is going to happen?
My expectations end of February, that would bring players in. That's just my expectation. I don't care about getting players out at this precise moment in time. Just bring players in. I personally don't think centre midfield will be something that we address in January. I think we've got too many options that Conte can choose from, and I think he'll stick with the centre midfield, whether it's attacking centre midfield or defensive midfield. I think he's going to stick with those options to the end of the season. I think what we will address is the centre back. I think we'll bring in another left-footed centre back is what I think we'll bring in. I do think right wing back, stroke right wing. It won't be both. It'll be one or the other will be addressed. And if there's an opportunity for a striker, then we might go for a striker if an opportunity arises. Otherwise, I kind of think if you look at the players that we've got, Moura, Kane, Son, I think Conte might, or the Spurs board or whoever, might think they've got enough to get by to the end of the season. But for me, I think our biggest issue, I know the striker is an issue, like just relying on Kane is always an issue because he's always bound to get injured at some point in the season. But our centre backs, I've said, you only have to look at the last couple of games, like Tanganga, etc. We've got issues if we've got issues if we're just relying on the defenders that we've got now. If one of them get injured, yeah, we've got trouble. So left centre back, right wing back, stroke right winger, one of the two. And if an opportunity arises, we'll get a second striker in.
Cool. Everybody's very, very hopeful. Sid, your thoughts?
Right, so it could go two ways, yeah. Daniel Levy's gonna say, "I owe you nothing, nothing at all," in the words of Bros. Or he can say to him, "Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, and give him all the money that he wants." But honestly, I've said it all along. We're gonna. I think I'm gonna be in agreement with Darius here. We're gonna end up with Traore because it looks like 18 million is gonna be done deal and signed, sealed, and delivered. Unfortunately, the backup striker that we was gonna get, Chris Woods, is now signing for Newcastle, so we're not gonna get him anymore.
And I would have taken him. I'd have taken him.
Yeah. So he's going,
Decent player. I like Chris Wood.
So he's going Newcastle. So that backup striker's gone. And that's about it, really. I can't see any. Like I said to you before, one signing at the most. If we're lucky, we'll get two, and that's it. And then it's going to be all over again in the summer. Yeah, this is the problem, isn't it? Because what are we now? 11th of January, and we've not made a move yet on anyone.
It was only day 10, though, isn't it? We got like.
I could have said that 4 days. I could have said that 4 days in, but we're
Mike,
third.
look at us.
Look at Aston Villa to go. Let's
look
not
at Aston Villa.
But they're bringing in Coutinho. He's finished. He's washed. He's done. He
Basuma.
ain't going to come in and change Tottenham's fortune.
But they're
It ain't
doing.
going to happen.
But they're
Dina
doing
and
stuff,
Basuma
aren't
are
they?
linked with them as
Yeah,
well. I'll
but-
take Dina and Basuma both at Tottenham.
Dina's gone as well. Yeah, that's done as well.
I wouldn't.
Listen,
The players I wouldn't worry.
If you look at it, the MO with Daniel Levy and believe in it, that it's one player out before one player comes in, you've also got to look at this 10, 11 days, whatever, however many you want to call it, and say nobody's left either. That for me is just as telling.
I think Conte's even alluded to himself in a couple of interviews. January is not a good time. I don't think he was looking for loads in January. I just think he's probably been forced a little bit to at least to get one or two. I think two players would suffice. I think right wing back, in my opinion, would be the position. But if you had to push me and say, right, we only can get two, I'm looking now maybe at potentially a centre back, because yes, we would have a problem there. Looking at how, without Dyer, without Romero, we've got a problem there, I think. I'd love to see.
When you look at it's Tanganga, Sanchez, and Davis as your back three. I mean, if that doesn't worry any football fan that supports Tottenham Hotspurs, then there's no point. Yeah. Football's not for you.
and it only came after that Sunday's game. Do you know what I'm saying? Seeing what happened on Sunday without them players in, it just made me feel we can't trust these players. These players are
if only we had Traore to back that up.
Right, yeah. Traore to join them in the back to defend like I said.
Can I ask you guys a question? Wow. Can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
And especially Darius as well, but I want all your opinion, right? Ajax are after Bergwijn, right? 18 million we've rejected. I've heard today that David Neres is being sold to, I think not Leipzig,
Donetsk.
Donetsk are after him. Wouldn't you try and get him as a replacement for Bergwijn?
No. I honestly, like I said, with certain positions, and
hold on.
When I say
I think you lot should do this on an art, Sid. I think so, because look at the time. We've got to 1 hour 30.
So sorry.
And
I
think we just need to kind of. We're supposed to be doing this on Tanguy, a little bit on some players, but we've gone overboard. I want to come to both Kuva and Ollie just to find out from them where the viewers can find us. Start with you, Kuva. Where can the viewers find you?
You'll find me over at Tottenham Tantrum Gold with my mate Dermot and Phil Lattis and Ben Kaufman in the mornings. We do all the old school games. We'll show footage from way back from the 60s upwards, even before that sometimes. Just celebrating all the club's heroes, looking at classic matches, talking our way through them as we watch along. That is the basis of our channel. We are all about just bigging up the club, remembering our history, remembering all the times when we were a great side, all the trophies we used to win, regular winning trophies, not all this rubbish now that fans are subjected to season after season. It's the good old days for us. So it's grumpy old men talking about when times were good. That's our channel.
Go over to Tottenham Tantrum Gold to get some grumpy old men talking football. That's always good to watch that sort of stuff. Ollie, where can the viewers find you?
Yeah, Ollie Gamp on my Twitter. It's just Ollie Gamp, no special underscores or anything like that. Talk on the Daily Mail website a lot. Check me out there. I'm actually got a feature on Spurs coming out tomorrow, so you can have a read about our.
Go on, keep plugging, Ollie. Keep plugging. Keep plugging.
It's about why we should be hopeful that we might be able to turn it around because we beat Chelsea 5-1 20 years ago. So.
Not that hopeful. Bloody hell, I'm not that hopeful because I can't.
It's about Spurs. It's great.
Well, oh god, and to end that show, yeah, we've got to play Chelsea tomorrow. Looking forward to that one, the reaction show for that. But yeah, we just got a couple of comments saying, cheers, guys, great show from David, member of ours, and also Simply Ace, nice show, lads. It has been a good show, a bit longer than we expected, I think, but there's always with Tottenham a lot to talk about. So, Mike, Sid, Darius, Ollie, and Kuva, let's enjoy today because we've got to play Chelsea tomorrow. And no doubt we'll have a few things to say about that game tomorrow. But yeah, there's still over 50 odd of you in the house. I want to get every one of you now, if you haven't already, hit that like button. If you are not a member, or sorry, if you've not subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button. We're going to wait for a second or two. That was it. That was all I wanted to do. If you're going to do it now. Couple more comments in. Paul Russell. We have 6 centre backs and we are worried. Says it all. It's true. That's very true. We got.
They're centre backs by trade, but whether they're good centre backs, that's a completely different kettle of fish.
There is. I was going to say this player here. What's his name? Who can pronounce that? I'm
Divine Wrench.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, a really, really talented young player. I kind of follow Ajax as my second team. And he's definitely one for the future. Might be a bit young at the moment, but definitely should have our eye on him, I think.
Add him onto that Art Sid list, then definitely put him on there. Beat the Chavs tomorrow. Come on, you Spursman, Sean. Sam, check your phone. Question for the what question have you got now? Let me have a quick look. We can't do that, Sean. We're going to be here too long. We've got to go now. I want to get something to eat. No, I'm not looking at my bloody phone. Anyway, I'm going to say bye again. Mike, Sid, Darius, Harley, and Kuva. It's been a pleasure. Guys, we shall see you